All right, back here again for another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. This show is brought to you by the Basketball Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Drew,
I'm BJ.
and we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. Back at it again, Mr. BJ,
Yes, we
for
are.
some lowdown episode 14. We're in here as we record on a Thursday night, just ahead of Friday's drop here, talking some NBA race for the MVP. A lot of candidates at this
Hmm.
point so far
Yeah, it's still
this year.
early. It is
Still,
still early.
it is indeed still early, but it is tight up at the top. We'll talk about it. WNBA schedule just dropped as well. We got to talk about that and what that early opening weekend is going to be looking like as well. Some
It's
course,
gonna be exciting.
yeah, some of course with it or quit it. BJ's best and what's on Drew's mind. So as soon as BJ lets everybody know he's ready to go, we're gonna get it going.
I am ready, Drew. I hope you had a great week with your family for Thanksgiving. I know it was a good week for us, and I'm glad that I'm thankful, in fact, that we're back here to do another episode together, my friend.
Yes, indeed. Hope you did as well. Tiring one for me today, so I'm trying to power through. A little beat up body, just trying to work it
Hey,
through.
it's all right. If you need the high energy from me, I'll provide it. We'll get through it. We'll do
Bring it
it.
on. Ibuprofen's just gonna get me through this.
Yes, sir.
All right. So NBA race for the MVP. A lot of candidates. BJ, I couldn't tell you this a lot. When the last time was that we had so many candidates, like with reasonable cases early on. Just
Hmm.
so many here up at the top. In
Yeah.
no order, just railing off some names: Luka Doncic, two-time reigning MVP Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Giannis, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum. Uh, you know, and that's over five already. And I mean,
Yeah,
we're
and that's
talking
not
about
even mentioning like dark horse guys that we can
yeah,
mention:
dark
Donovan
horse.
Mitchell, John
Eh,
Morant, De'Aaron
Yeah,
Fox, guys like
I
that.
mean, you might even could say Anthony Davis if the
Yeah,
Lakers get it
absolutely.
together, because he's playing phenomenal these last 7 games, just absurd numbers.
And that's
And
we didn't even mention Joel Embiid, who might have had his best
Embiid,
year
that's
last year.
exactly. So just a lot of players in the mix, a lot of super high level basketball going on right now, and
Mm,
it's hard to kind of put them in an order because at any given week, BJ, it could shuffle,
yeah.
and some players who, if we'd have gotten to do an episode last week, are not as high up on the MVP ladder as they are this week, just because their team hasn't been as successful as some other teams, along with how
Hmm.
good that they've been playing. So it's that type this year to where if even if you're playing super good basketball, I mean, you'd have to be playing otherworldly probably to maintain your position. But if your team is losing and somebody else is, let's say like a Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns are winning, then they're gonna push themselves up the ladder. Whereas, for example, a Giannis would slide down when the Bucks have a skid like they
Or
had
or
recently.
like if the Mavericks continue to stay right around 500 like they have been this year, it really haven't gotten on that impressive hot streak quite yet. Luca has kind of been ever since the preseason really one of the odds-on favorites to win it, and he's still doing Luca things and should be considered up there among the candidates, if not at the top, very near the top. But does the if the Mavericks continue to muddle and are not like top quarter of the Western Conference, does his MVP candidacy take a little bit of a drop? I wonder.
Maybe because I mean the Mavs were teetering there for a little bit, losing some games, and then
Hmm.
happened to beat the Golden State Warriors. But I mean,
Yeah.
Golden State's not having the greatest year, even though they're
Hmm.
defending champs. But
Yeah.
they're teetering a bit as well. But the Mavs needed that, but they were having some trouble before that, losing some games that they should have closed out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it should hurt Luca's candidacy for MVP, especially in a year like this when you got so many people, vying for it again. Uh, when you look at the MVP ladder from the NBA, I don't know how uh, theirs isn't as up to date from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I've
Maybe
got
they haven't
last
put out a
week's
new one.
ladder.
Yeah, they don't have a newer one up yet. So looking at it last week, if we were talking about this last week, Luca's leading it at number one, Jason Tatum right behind him, Jokic right there, and Giannis, and then Curry. So there's your top five, just based on what the NBA is kind of tracking here. And, Luka with the Mavs not doing too great. You'd think, in our personal opinions, probably bump the Mavs or bump Luka down a little bit, even though he's putting up 34 and just had a,
Yeah,
34 point,
insane year.
yeah, 30-point triple double again. So it's just because team is going to be so important this time around. Unless Luca's averages like stay at 35 for the season, and it's like actually 35, 8 and 8 to finish the year, and Mavs are just maybe a hair below a couple of other candidates, maybe like a C below Jokic. Uh, I could see Luca eclipsing Jokic for a third MVP if he gets enough votes or something like that to put him over, just because he's scoring at such an insane clip, and even though
Yeah.
Jokic would be averaging similar numbers, 35 points a game will probably give you a little bit of a boost there.
Oh,
But
for sure. I mean, 35 versus 23. You're taking the guy
yeah,
that's putting up 35. Even if you've got a guy like Jokic that is, about an assist and half a rebound, at least according to last week's numbers, away from averaging a triple double so far this season.
yeah, going into this past MVP ladder that we're talking about right here, uh, Milwaukee had lost four of its last six. Going into it, and that's why Giannis, who was considered probably a top two candidate early because of his play on both ends of the floor and keeping Milwaukee afloat without Middleton, it's bumped him down to like a four spot so far, and depending on where the rankings come out, probably tomorrow, I would say.
It looks
Um,
like it would be tomorrow, yeah.
yeah, so he would. Who knows where he's going to be at this point because the Bucks have figured things out a little bit. And you had talked about other players. Another person that's been in consideration just because his team's kind of coming out of nowhere. De'Aaron Fox.
Hmm.
Maybe you put him up there, or would you put a Sabonis instead of him? That's an interesting question. Um, and there's other names floating around as well. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has been in the mix as well. He's been playing
Yeah,
phenomenal this year, and OKC's given teams a lot of trouble.
absolutely.
Kevin Durant, you
Hmm.
can't forget about KD. And you mentioned Embiid. I mean, there's even on this list I'm looking at. I don't know if you saw the bottom, BJ, but Jalen Brown,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I don't
Defensive
know
player of the
about
year last year.
you. No, that was Marcus Smart.
That's right. You're sorry. That's.
Trey Young on here. I don't know why. I don't know if he should necessarily be on here. He's not shooting the best, kind of like he started off last season.
Hmm.
But it's just some names that you could see around there. If he gets it together, then I mean maybe he's in
Yeah.
a top 10. And rising up higher. But still, a lot of names of players playing really well so far. Um,
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, we could go back and look at what we were talking about at this point last year at the beginning of December. There really wasn't anybody that had kind of put this away. It really took until even when we got to the halfway point in the season, Drew, we were still talking about a guy like Kevin Durant who seemed to be the front runner, and then the back half of the season was where Embiid and Jokic's candidacies really took off and started to climb. And then all of a sudden, it was that debate at the end of the year between Jokic winning again or if Embiid was going to be able to get it done. Um, so, it's still very early. There's still going to be a lot of games that's going to sort itself out. But I mean, you kind of at this point, even with kind of a 500 record, it's tough not to have Luka right there at the top, if not very darn near it. When you're talking about a guy that's averaging 30 plus points a game, almost 8 plus rebounds and assists, that's numbers that we haven't seen from anybody really in quite a long time. You'd have to go back, if I'm not mistaken, Drew. I may say it here in the article. Um, this is a numbers that haven't been seen since days of like Oscar Robertson, Drew. Luca is he's the second fastest to reach 7,500 plus points, 2,000 plus boards and assists, and doing it second quickest behind Oscar Robertson, 254 games compared to Doncic's is 280. Um, Mavs just have to be playing better on the road, and that starts, hopefully with a win in Detroit tonight. Last I saw, they were kind of having a little bit of struggles, but that's still, well, maybe it's got a couple minutes left in that game live. I'm not sure, but Mavs have struggled on the road away from home, and that's going to be what's going to hurt them come playoff time, especially if they can't get a top four seed.
Yeah, Mavs, they're going to be struggling getting the top four seed. Welcome in, Cam. Appreciate you joining in the stream tonight. Um, where do you see the top five MVP race right now? Who is in your top five at this moment?
It's Doncic for me at one. Jokic is two for me. I'm gonna go ahead and go a little bit different here than what you see on the ladder. I'm gonna go and put Jason Tatum at three behind Jokic, and then for me, number four. I think you've got to still keep a guy like Giannis in there. Just because they've had a little bit of a kind of a down stretch does not mean that he's not playing at that kind of level if they get it figured out. It's just kind of the same thing what we talked about with the Mavericks. And I don't know if I'd put Steph Curry at number five. I think that Joel Embiid has battled some injuries, but he's really kind of been what's helped Philadelphia, survive this long. James Harden's coming back here hopefully in the next couple weeks, and he's just trying to do the best he can. Uh Man, I'm trying to think who I'd put at number five. I think my number five at the moment would be just a slight edge to Donovan Mitchell, in fact, over Steph Curry, but not
Really? Okay.
not 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 that much separation between the two. Steph Curry's on the right track. If the Warriors can get it kind of figured out, before the end of this calendar year, and we get into the rest of the season starting in 2023, then there's still a lot of ground for Curry that he could get even higher up than where they've got him at five and right at six for me.
Okay. I got mine a little bit differently. I've got Jokic at one, Tatum at two, Luka at three,
Mm-hmm.
Giannis at four, and Booker at five.
Booker is right behind Curry in mine at seven.
Booker been keeping Phoenix going crazy out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna discount DeAndre Jordan's like 30 and 20 game, or he almost had a 30 game. I'm pretty sure
Wow.
something like it was something pretty outrageous.
Insane.
Pretty sure he had like 29 rebounds. Man, what was that game? I'm gonna be specific.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what you're talking about because that was
This was
hot.
recent this
I
past
was
week.
I was gonna say it hadn't been too long. I didn't think.
Per game. Oh, trying to basketball reference. Come on, load for me. But yeah, he did it recently in one of their games. If it'll load for me, it won't. Um, my goodness. Oh man, there's game by game logs, 2022. Okay, so where's that at? Okay, so I'm wrong. 29 points and 21 rebounds.
All right, so he
So
was close to 30-20.
you're right. Still, that's insane.
That's insane. Yeah.
They only won by 1 point against Utah when he did that. Pretty crazy. But Aiton's been
Yeah.
playing pretty outrageous the past about 6 games. Helping him out. But Devin Booker with a 50 piece recently. It was on like 80%
Yeah.
shooting. He was 20 for 25. So, I mean, Booker's having an insane year.
Yeah, he's
So,
definitely gonna. I think he's definitely not out of it at this
but
point.
like I said,
He's got to play his way up.
a week from now, I mean, this could shuffle. We could
Yeah,
have Booker out, Curry in, Mitchell at three, Luka at four, no more Giannis. Like,
yeah.
you
It's
never know.
the next time we do this, we should probably give it at least a month or so. We should check in like once a month and kind of reevaluate because it fluctuates so much week to week. You kind of want to look at things going over a course of a month as opposed to the course of just a handful of games, maybe 2 to 3 a week.
Heck, maybe keep an MVP tracker like Jokic for you. Like, okay, this past week, he was at one for me. Be like, okay, he's staying at one. Tatum
Hmm.
at two for me last week, staying at two. Luka
Yeah,
at three, down. All right, Booker, mm. Giannis.
yeah.
I don't know,
Level out.
but
It'd be interesting. It would definitely be interesting.
that'd
Something we
be
could
a
do.
yeah, it'd be tough to keep track of though. But
Yeah,
Definitely a good, fun season so far for the NBA and the shuffling of who's going to be the MVP, who's going to be in the top five. I mean, they've got a
absolutely.
there's a sneaky name on there just because he's having a crazy good year. He's leading the NBA in assists right now. BJ Tyrese Halliburton and
Yeah,
the Pacers. I mean, he's in that back end dark horse mix as well. So you
yeah,
never know what's going to happen this year in the MVP race. And while a lot of people are healthy right now, the
yeah.
injury
You
bug
know you
comes to
can't.
bite somebody.
Yeah, you know you can't count on there not to be somebody that gets taken out. It happened to Durant last year. You know,
Mhm.
obviously we don't want to hope for anything like that, but we know that it's just bound to happen over the course of a season, wear and tear. Somebody is gonna, through no fault of their own, is gonna find themselves out of it just because it happens. It's just part of the game, unfortunately.
Mhm. And now it's time for BJ's best.
Thank you, Drew. All right. Well, it's just now, today, the start of the calendar month of December. So we're into the last month of 2022. So if you're still processing whatever happened to you in 2019, that's about to be 4 years ago, by the way, Drew. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, I know that doesn't feel right. I know, but it is indeed the case. So with it being the start of December, it's there's a lot of different directions that I could go with this, and maybe this one will be BJ's best for next week. But it's officially time to start watching those holiday movies if you hadn't already. When the Thanksgiving season ended last week, and you throw on to the TV the Frosties or Rudolphs or anything like that, or you could go with one of my favorites, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I always enjoy watching that movie year in year out. One of my absolute favorite, Drew, and um, I am going somewhere with this, so I'm just going to set the stage. So keep in mind, one of my favorite movies at Christmas time, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Just a couple weeks ago, Drew, you had the privilege of well, I don't know if it was a privilege, but I do want to thank you. You helped me out calling a football playoff game over in the city of Grand Prairie. Did you not? You were muted, by the way, I think.
This is true.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, so keep in mind Grand Prairie. There is just something that connects what I've started to, the breadcrumbs I've laid along the trail here so far. I saw this in the news and I was like, oh, this is too perfect not to bring up. On Monday in Grand Prairie, at Grand Prairie High School, students and faculty members were confronted with an unusual situation.
Mm.
It's not quite National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation where the squirrel jumps out of the tree, but they had to deal with a raccoon running in the school's cafeteria.
What?
It was
Ah.
apparently on Monday. The video there was video captured of the raccoon running loose around the cafeteria. It was confirmed by a spokesman for Grand Prairie ISD that it was spotted just after noon on Monday. District staff members were summoned to the school to help wrangle the animal. They came in and worked with campus staff to corral the little guy, and then they took him off campus and released him back into the wild. But I just I thought that was funny because you know having what did you ever have anything that crazy happen to you when you were in high school? Because I certainly know I didn't.
No, but I did have something cool happen this year, BJ, and
Oh yeah.
I've yet to get the audio from it. But during one of our home games, I can't remember which one. I know you've seen many videos or many sports games on TV, especially college football,
Hmm.
where an animal has gotten onto the field
Yes. Yeah.
and been chased around and chased off of it.
Oh my goodness.
We had a black cat super dash across the field and
Oh no! Did you do
juke
your
some.
best? Did you do your best play-by-play for
Oh
that?
yes,
Oh
for
my
sure,
goodness! I
one
cannot wait.
hundred
I
percent.
this is what I want for you from Chris as a Christmas present. I
That
want a
is
copy of that audio. You
that
have
is
to find
all
a way to
time, and
send it
I'm
to me.
hoping I can sync the video with it if they got it on video as well. So I was definitely prepared for that. I was definitely
Oh man, you get your best, and the cat runs into the end zone. That is a touchdown.
I was like, and he breaks left, and he jukes him going left outside. Yeah,
He
I had
makes a
a I
man
had
miss
a
at the 10. He scores.
I had a good breakdown. He didn't last too long, but as soon as I saw him on the other side, I called him from that side to this side, and whatever he did on the sidelines, I was talking about it. That was
Oh
great
my
though.
gosh, that is
All
funny.
time moment.
Cam says that one of the band kids released a pig at his school senior year.
Hey, man, that would have been awesome if we'd have done that when I was
Oh
there.
man, nothing like that happened at my high school. The funniest thing that happened is not appropriate for this show, unfortunately. That's a different episode of the Lowdown that I could talk
Abs-
about that one.
Fair
But
enough.
so,
Fair enough.
man, so the not the squirrel jumping out of the tree in Christmas Vacation, but the raccoon running around at the cafeteria at lunchtime. I would say, where's cousin Eddie? He usually eats these things, but that's probably enough of that. Anyway, so just for humor and everything like that, nobody was harmed. The animal was not, nothing bad happened to the animal. They were able to capture it and release it back safely into the wild. So it just got to have a little jaunt around the cafeteria, and that is BJ's best, Drew.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. BJ's best. And I'll tell you what, we've been talking about the NBA already, and we got to let you know about what DraftKings has got coming up for the NBA. NBA
Mm-hmm.
season is heating up. Still so many unknown things
Yeah,
going on, like the MVP race, which we just
absolutely
talked
perfect.
about earlier. And wherever you're at in the MVP race, I'm sure you're going to be struggling with it all season long, just like we are. When I'm looking to get on the action, I get on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers like you can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they win.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Drew. You said it. You look to bet on the action. You bet with DraftKings. I bet with DraftKings. And check this out, Drew. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. So here's what you do you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you place a same game parlay, combine multiple bets like what team you're going to have winning, the total number of rebounds, much more. In fact, you could go with multiple different games. If you are someone like me that looks at the matchups, let's talk about the ones on Friday night. I've liked the Lakers to cover. I don't know if they've announced the point spread. I think Milwaukee gets the money line victory, but I am going to take the Lakers to cover once that spread is announced. And the Warriors 7-point favorites at home against the Bulls in the two nationally televised games tomorrow night. And I'm, of course, going to take the Warriors. So if you want to get a
Yep.
parlay going with Milwaukee and Golden State, the more legs you add, the bigger the boost you can get with that stepped up same game parlay, and the bigger your shot to win big.
It's a good call, BJ.
Thank you.
Download the app now. Sign up with code TBPN. Place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, Drew, before we get back into the show, I want to talk about the fantastic stuff that you can find over at Fanatics, as well as our shop over on T Public. Drew, I had a big order just in time for Black Friday and got some savings. Uh, I show you. I got part of my order came in
Boom.
today.
Stickers right there, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. T Public got sales up to 40% off through the holidays. They're going on constantly, and even when they don't have the sales on the merch individually, they've got shipping hookups for you as well. The same with Fanatics, right, BJ?
That's right, Drew. And right now at Fanatics, I know they've always got codes going on. You can go to Fanatics and get up to 65% off site wide by using code ADVENT. They're going to have something big in store, I'm sure, this weekend as well. But for right now, 65% off savings, perhaps up to 65% off for sure at Fanatics with the code ADVENT, ADVENT. So as in like the Advent calendar. Now that we're into the month of December.
And before we get into what's on Drew's mind, BJ, we got a live update. Mavs versus Pistons right now. Mavs
Oh,
up by 1 with 2 minutes left.
in overtime, no less. It's been a fun back and forth game. Mavs were down by like 7 just a moment ago. It felt like, and I thought, well, that's going to be it. They're going to lose, and all of a sudden they come back and they get in overtime. So we'll
Those
keep an
feisty
eye.
Pistons.
Yeah, those feisty Pistons just hit a three, and they've taken the 2 point lead right back. So
Yuck.
expect it to go back and forth there. And now, besides the Mavs game, Drew, what is on your mind here tonight?
BJ, Spotify Wrapped.
Oh yeah.
Spotify Wrapped. And most specifically, the Lowdowns. Spotify Wrapped.
Okay, I like this.
Spotify Wrapped comes out at the end of every year, BJ.
Just like clockwork.
2022, just like clockwork, and it's the beginning of December, and they have dropped it off. Said in 2022, we did our thing, and the people loved it. And we've got our stats from Spotify or Spotify Wrapped here. Mine
Awesome stuff.
had a little intermission trying to screen record it, so we're gonna power through this here. We created 3,110 minutes of new content. That's more than 92% of other creators in the sports category.
Look at that. How about
Mm,
that?
you can't hear
Those
us,
are boo
but we're
big
clapping
numbers.
right now.
Yeah.
Maybe you can hear us. Maybe you can hear us. Yeah, there you go. And BJ, one episode really grabbed listeners' attention. Can you guess what it was? NBA 2K covers and WNBA awards, Round the Association Part 16, or Getting Right with Reggie?
I would say, oh, hmm. I would say getting right with Reggie would probably be my guess.
It was
Oh,
actually NBA 2K covers and WNBA midseason
I
awards.
like that one. That was a great one too.
298% more streams than your average episode.
That's ridiculous.
And they were trying to get in on those W awards, and they like that NBA 2K stuff.
Yeah, the 2K covers were fun too. I remember
Oh
that one.
yeah,
That was a
man,
great one.
for sure. And
Man.
let's see what's next here. Our podcast loves to travel. This one, I mean, it only gave us U.S. stats as far as like what our percentage was, how much of listeners are from the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give us the where else they're from. Just said the top country
Mm-hmm.
was the
United
United States.
States.
Yeah,
Makes
man.
sense. Makes sense.
And now between and it also gave us something cool between June 5th and June 11th, BJ.
Okay, that week.
Whatever episode that was, don't remember.
Okay.
We had 169% more listeners compared to our average weeks.
Wow.
Wow.
That is insane.
They like that episode. That might have been that 2K covers episode.
That may have been if I had to guess. That
Yeah.
sounds about right because I think that was about the time that they were getting ready to announce that.
And whoever said sharing is caring was probably a fan of ours.
Mm-hmm.
They said from Wrapped. Let's see. Our podcast was in the top 20% most shared globally.
That is
Here's
fantastic stuff.
here's how listeners spread the word. 46% direct links. 33% via Instagram.
Ooh.
9% other. Bunch of little categories, I guess.
Okay.
6% Snapchat. 6% text.
No.
Right?
Yeah, I was like, I cannot believe that they can break it down that much. That's insane.
And it said, what are the lowdown listeners exactly? I think this is the personality type thing that they got
Okay.
on here.
Mm-hmm.
And this probably fits directly to Cam here. I think. Our listeners' personality is the enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
Your listeners are super fans. When their favorite podcast releases a new episode, they're among the first to know, going above and beyond to show their support.
I love that. That's not just Cam. That's everyone that
Right.
does listen and tune in each and every week.
And Spotify said, have you been working out?
I've, I need to be, but I haven't been.
Our podcast saw a lot of gains this year in streams, BJ.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'll go from bottom to top.
I'll flex my muscles a different time then.
In listeners, we went up
Okay.
33% on our listeners. Our followers on Spotify, we went up 166%.
I love it. I love it.
On our hours that we put in, BJ, we went up 782%.
Wow,
Longer episodes.
amazing stuff. Yeah,
And last but not least, our streams 863% increase on Spotify.
I love it. I love it.
Wow,
It's
that's the nutty
fantastic
part.
stuff.
Like streams are getting turned up over here. Shout out to Cam. We know he's a Spotify user.
We definitely know he is, and anybody else that finds us, whether it's be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or even here through YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We're
Hmm.
just thankful that you got to tune in and you enjoy listening to the two of us each and every week.
Indeed, and they made something special for us, BJ. You can't see it. I did send you the video, but they gave us a little final stat thingy here.
Okay.
Let's see. It's got our top country, our streams increase, our minutes we put in, and the episodes we did in uh 2022. We did 42 episodes ahead of this wrapped in the year.
Yeah,
And
and it feels like it was more because I don't think outside of maybe 1 or 2 weeks that we were doing an episode, it felt like every week this year.
3.1K minutes of podcasting.
Wow,
Racking it up.
that is insane. That is a lot of minutes, Drew. That is a lot of minutes.
And pretend all the little voodoo colors are coming through right now from your wrapped. And that is your lowdown. Wrapped.
And that's what's on Drew's mind, man. That is fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Um, well, Drew, the WNBA schedule was released just yesterday. I got a sneak peek at it a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the big matchups, but let's just go ahead and start with opening weekend. There, anytime a team wins a championship, you kind of want to see, when they're going to do the trophy unveiling and the banner and give the team their rings, everything like that. But this was interesting to me because the Aces will be on the road to start the year. They will be taking on the team they knocked out in the WNBA semifinals, Seattle Storm, in their new look, their new era without Sue Bird. That'll be an interesting one to watch for at the start of the year. What else kind of caught your mind or caught your eye from that opening weekend slate of games?
Well, BJ, that game you just mentioned, um, gonna be played at noon for us. A noon Saturday game, for that Vegas game you mentioned.
I thought that
Um,
was noon their time. I thought it was 2 our time.
I guess what is this? Oh, I don't know why that's got that time like that. Okay,
It's all
but
good.
still, I mean, a good afternoon game between
Hmm.
those two, so that'll be a good matchup. But opening weekend, I want to see. Heck, the first game I think will be really good. New York and Washington. I think that's a great kickoff
Yeah,
to the season, especially if Elena Deladon is good and healthy and she plays the entirety of that game. Then that'll be really exciting with New York coming back, hopefully fully healthy, and seeing what they can do the second time around with Brondello. Other than that, probably. Oh man, I don't know. That's probably my number one if I had to do it. If I had to pick one, and then of course the Vegas Seattle one that you mentioned.
the Wings will start off their season at home against the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah.
That'll be that Saturday night game. I'm looking forward to this one. This could be a very interesting double header. Pardon on if they do it on the over the air channel or if ABC or ESPN picks it up on that Sunday. You start
Hmm.
off on Sunday with Washington and Connecticut on that Sunday, and then you've got another game in that 3 o'clock slate right now between Chicago and Phoenix. So it could be interesting. I know Phoenix is probably, at least to start off the year, is going to have a little bit of a rough stretch because they've got they won't have Diamond DeShields because she'll be out with at that point she would have had her child, I would imagine, right,
That's
Drew?
Skyler.
Skylar, you're right. Why did I say Diamond DeShields? I don't know why I did that.
Eesh.
It's just hey,
I
we're
thought I
pushing
was
to.
tired, BJ.
You had a brain fog. It's all right. We will. I don't know. let's keep going though. Let's talk about some of the games outside of opening weekend that you might want to see. You look at that next weekend slate of games, and a little bit of questions coming out with Chicago and what is going to happen with their roster, and then they get to host Washington on Friday, May 26th. So not that first weekend of games, but the second weekend is where we'll see Washington at Chicago. Some of the other games that were listed in this article about some of the ones to keep an eye on this season include Indiana and Minnesota. That'll be the first matchup between the teams that have the number one and number two selections in this year's draft coming up in April. So that'll be Friday, June the 9th. Seattle will take on Phoenix in just a couple days later on June the 13th. That'll be very interesting to keep an eye on in that Western Conference race. Connecticut at the Sparks. Kurt Miller will face his former team for the first time on Sunday, June the 18th. What about this? Is this a possible uh, Brianna Stewart's rematch against her former team? Is she going to head to the New York Liberty? They'll play Seattle on Saturday, July 8th. That'll be very interesting. If Stewie ends up leaving and going to New York, that would be her first matchup against her former team. And then, Drew, of course, when you have another semifinal rematch with Connecticut Chicago, you got to keep your eye on that. We'll get that for the first time on Wednesday, July 12th, with Connecticut traveling to Chicago. What other games caught your attention on the schedule?
I didn't look too deep into it. Mostly focused on opening weekend,
Okay.
mainly in part because there's got a lot of things that are going to happen between now
Yeah,
and then, and these teams could shuffle a lot. So
very much so.
we've got our
Yeah,
opening picture, but our matchups and who's on what team could change very differently once the start of the year comes about. With
absolutely.
WNBA teams beginning to be able to negotiate with free agents on Saturday, January 21st. Free agents can begin signing those contracts with teams on Wednesday the 1st. So a lot of things going to be happening in the months of January and February in the WNBA. So this is just kind of the pre-prep here. And this is probably some of the earliest times, probably the earliest time in my 5 going on 6 years of covering this league that they've released a schedule, what seems like early for them.
Hmm.
Um, so this is good ahead of everything that's going to be going on over the off season and decisions that people might make. Who knows what's going to happen? Seattle may trying to keep things together up there somehow, some way, and
Yeah,
keep building off of the legacy that Stewie and others built in there, and maybe not want to move. Maybe they don't have room in New York anymore. I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know. There could be a lot of different things. Who knows what the LA Sparks will look like in total after a possible reshuffle? I want to say Agumake is a free agent. So um, there's a lot of things to look at and revisit our free agent pool here in a little bit as well to see
mhm,
what we're going to be looking at ahead of all this going on. There's probably going to be some subliminal social media messages from players throughout the course of this and leading up into the free agency. So being
yeah.
on the lookout from where players are right now.
One other
Um,
matchup that I'm excited for, Drew, I just saw this. The top two teams in the regular season last year. We didn't get this matchup in the WNBA finals, but the Aces travel to the Sky on Tuesday, July 25th, and I bet that will be a nationally broadcast game. It would be criminal if it's not, Drew.
oh
I can't
yeah.
imagine that it won't be.
If I could backtrack and pick another one, I guess I would
Okay,
say Mystics and Sky Friday, May 26th.
okay, I like that.
Interested to look and see what the Mystics look like under Eric Tebow instead of Mike, even though Mike
Yeah,
will still be a part of things, but Eric will be on the sidelines. So
absolutely.
interesting year ahead, BJ. 40 game
Gonna be
season on
fantastic.
tap. 40 game seasons, the most they've ever had after a
Hmm.
4 game increase from last year. So an 8 game increase in 2 years.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes as far as the durability of the players,
Mm.
considering they're all playing right now overseas and they're going to be playing up until time to get the WNBA season started. Like that's the same case for the college players too. They're playing up until
Yeah.
right before the draft, and then they get right into it.
Yeah.
So hopefully we have an injury, a less injury riddled season, I should say,
Yeah.
and a good slate of 40 games ahead for the WNBA year.
I think it will be, Drew. I'm looking forward to it. I can't believe because we're still about 6 months out from the start of the season, and like you said, I was kind of surprised that it had already come out at this point because we've kind of talked about, they don't it's felt like in years where we didn't have the schedule and free agency was already going on.
Yeah, they're not very
So
timely with stuff. They haven't been in the past. They're pretty late on some things, but
yeah,
some things I can understand. Some things, eh.
maybe this is good start to getting it on the right track for going forward, especially with it being more games than ever before in a season. You want to get it out this quick.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think it's time for some with it or quit it, BJ.
Yeah,
Got
indeed it
5 questions
is.
for you, and then it's finally your turn again. I feel like it goes so much faster with it or quit it when it's you doing it, and it drags when I'm doing it. I don't know.
I don't think that's the case,
Hey, with
but
it or quit it comes back faster to me than it does to get back to you, is what I'm saying.
oh, okay.
Um, with it or quit it on tap for episode 14. Question number 1. The Texas A&M University Commerce Lions men's basketball team
hmm
is for real, BJ. With it or quit it?
let's define what do you mean by for real. I mean, they went on the road and got a win in the Aloha State. If that's what your definition of for real is, winning a game in like five time zones behind.
You've known what the Commerce men's basketball team has been to be in the past. They've had like
Yeah.
1 year there where we could say they
hmm
were a really good team that we were confident in.
Yeah.
Are they that type of team again and in Division 1 at that?
I have not gotten to watch a whole lot of them this year, but the
But they're
wins that
winning
they've all,
games.
yeah, I know they are winning games that you kind of wouldn't have thought that, to give them credit that they would get to win to this point in their first season in Division One. It's kind of like the football team.
They're doing
So
far better than the girls I thought were going to here. It's actually
yeah,
a flip flop from how I thought things were going to go.
yeah, you're not too far off on that, and so I will go agree. Yeah, I will go ahead and agree with you there. I'll say with it that I
Okay.
think they are for real. I think they can absolutely, compete for the regular season crown, and even if they were to, I think they can compete in the conference title, like the conference tournament. They just cannot go to the NCAA if they were to
Right.
win it. It's the Bellarmine situation from last year all over again.
Pain.
And
But
Cam's with it too. He says Commerce bringing the heat.
yeah, man. Hey, I bet Willie Rooks is on the sidelines with him over there, man. I know he's happy to see that, and I
And
bet
Conrad too, Trey Conrad.
I think he's still. I feel like I think he got a position somewhere else. I want to say.
Okay, I
I
remember.
don't feel like he's there anymore.
Okay,
And that's why Willie's there. I think.
yeah, maybe
So,
you're right.
but either way, good things happening with the Commerce men.
Absolutely, keep
Number
it up.
2, BJ, you consider yourself a good tipper. With it or quit it?
I will say yes. I do consider myself to be a good tipper with it. Most of the time, I mean, I normally, worst case, if I can't afford to give more, I try to do 20 to 25% if I can help it. Most of the time, if it's just like if I'm out drinking or anything like that, I won't even necessarily like try to figure up the tip. I'll just round to the nearest dollar and put like $3 or $4 or something like that. Even if it was like an $8 charge or something like that. That's close to like 50%, just because I know it's a tough gig, and you got to give back a little bit to people that help you out, and because they deserve it and they don't get a whole lot as it is. So I do consider myself to be a good tipper, but I don't. It's not anything like I try to make an effort. It's just something because I try to be a nice person, I guess.
Do you keep that same energy for all aspects of tipping, like DoorDash and Sonic?
I try to with Sonic. I don't DoorDash that often.
Fair enough.
So I wouldn't. It really just depends. I will say one thing that I'm not as happy about with the tipping is if you're at an event and you get to pay, like if you're over at the AAC, for instance, you're at a Mavs game, uh, and you ask for like a bucket of popcorn and a soft drink, and the person flips the thing around and wants a tip for going back there and filling your soft drink cup and giving you a bucket of popcorn. I'd rather the tip go to the person that made the popcorn or whatnot if I'm gonna tip somebody. So I'm not as
Mm.
inclined to tip in that scenario.
So you're like Sonic workers.
No, 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 not
That's
not that.
the
No, I
same
mean
thing.
like,
They didn't make it. They just brought it out to you on their little skates.
yeah, like I said, I do try to be better with the Sonic one.
Fair.
So it's more it's there's different situations, I feel like. So
Yes. Number 3. Paolo Banchero has legit competition for the Rookie of the Year award. With it or quit it.
absolutely with it. I think that what we've seen out of Sacramento with Keegan Murray has been fantastic. I haven't gotten to watch a whole lot of these young up and coming the top 5 draft picks this year, but from what I've seen highlights wise and kind of keeping up with stats, I think it's going to be a very close race all the way through to the end of the season. Drew, I think it's going to be kind of like how last year was, where we had 2 or 3 candidates that really were in a position that they could have won it going into that last week of the regular season. It's going to be a tight race all throughout, Drew. So I'm absolutely with it.
3 for 3 so far. Okay,
Yeah,
here we
that
go.
is 3 for 3. No,
Oh man, I didn't even plan this one.
no, no, you did not.
It might derail here though.
Oh,
Number 4. You prefer delivery as opposed to carry out. With it or quit it.
man, it depends. It really depends. Um,
So like at home right now,
mhm.
if you're hungry, you don't have anything in your fridge, you gotta get food. You either gotta go pick up food or order it and have it brought to you. Which are you choosing?
See, I most of the time I do carry out, but I'd rather honestly I'd rather, if it wasn't going to take as long as it does take at times, I'd rather have the delivery. It feels to me, personally at least, that it's quicker for me to go get it and bring it back than it would take for somebody to go out of their way to go get it and then bring it to me. Because, I don't have anything else to do to go get it. It just feels like if somebody's coming from somewhere, then has to pick up the order and then take it to me, it takes a little bit longer. So I am gonna say quit it.
Ooh.
I go and pick up like pizza and food and everything like that. I but I would, if it wasn't that it seemingly takes longer for the delivery than it would be for me to go pick it up and bring it home. I'd probably get delivered more often.
That's why you should DoorDash.
Well, like I said, I don't DoorDash that often, but maybe I should.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Maybe I should.
Boo, BJ says Cam. I don't blame you, Cam. Boo. And last but not least, number 5. 40 WNBA games, BJ, for the season is too many games too soon. With it or quit it.
So you mean in terms of like how we've gone from 32 to 40 in the course of 2 seasons, basically, is
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. And let's
I
keep
don't.
in mind Satu Sabali as an example. She's been in the league 3 years now, 3 seasons,
Mhm.
and hasn't played more than 20 games yet.
Yeah, I know what they're trying to do. I know they're trying to grow the game, and I think they're trying in that mindset. They're trying to give more games to have more exposure. I just don't know like what better way you really could do it, because you're not wanting to go from 32 to 44 overnight essentially or anything like that. You've got to be gradual. But it feels like if you're just adding like two, 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 that takes just as long. I kind of feel like the way they've done it, where they've gone 32, then four more. If they're going to go another four or whatnot, I don't know if that's the plan. It's a possibility at this point, but um, you know, I think the way they've done it at this point is just fine. So I'm going to say quit it. I know, we don't want necessarily to, hope for more injuries, and that is something that we need to see if that is part of why we're seeing so many injuries, is that there's more games and not as much, rest and recuperation time. Um, but if there was a better way that we could get, more money to the league, and where the players wouldn't have to go and play overseas to earn that additional revenue, that might help with the, recuperation time and everything like that. If we can get it kind of how the NBA is.
I think part of the problem with this 40 games is not only the rest and recuperation time and your travel.
Hmm.
It's a
The
part
travel is
that
still
is that
still
is
an
that
issue.
is the big thing of it
Yeah,
though. I mean, you're flying commercial everywhere,
yeah,
and sometimes the more games, if you got some back-to-back situation, you got to fly from Atlanta to LA or something.
hmm,
There's no way you make it over there, and like if something, it's just it's just there's too many things that W hasn't fixed yet to be adding so many games so soon.
yeah.
Like,
I think if they want to do this, and maybe this year will be kind of like the litmus test, and then when we get, next season schedule like 2024, you know the way they did it, where they were trying to limit the travel, and so like you do the back to back against the same teams, I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, I like the serious stuff that they're doing, and
Hmm.
that helps with things, but there's still the issue of the travel that you run
Absolutely,
into, and the injury situation that you run
absolutely,
into because of
yeah,
those. I'm not saying that's the entire issue. People get hurt all the time in sports, but
yeah,
it certainly does not help when you have such little recovery time, when you got to go
yeah,
out and play 30 minutes in this game as one of the superstars of the team and stuff. So I'm
yeah.
saying
I'm absolutely
after
right there with
playing
you.
after playing an incredibly rigorous off season, probably playing overseas all year, there are some players who don't do it. Like, Enrique's got a contract enough; she ain't got to go overseas right now. She's signed a
Hmm.
new one. But there are other players over there grinding it up right now, just putting their bodies out there through it
Yeah,
all, winter long to come back and do it at an even higher level all summer long.
yeah,
So I just hope that they can endure it. We don't run into too many injuries, and it just the the uproar for all the gripes that the W has had over the last few years will continue because they haven't been fixed. I mean,
yeah,
the mini gripe the you'll hear gripes about the travel. You'll see players posting about it.
yeah.
The lack of release date for when and where the All Star game will be, the
Hmm.
times, and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
The
Always
same the
something.
same usual gripes. I mean,
Same old,
but
same old.
the thing about it is we, you got to keep bringing that up in order for something, keep getting
To
it
get
out there,
done.
keep
Yeah,
getting the outrage, if you want something to be done about it.
yeah.
So
But 40 games just seems like a lot to me, a little too
I
much
understand.
right
I
now.
understand.
I would have waited another year or so to put in four more games just to see if it's really like, how the women are handling it from a physical standpoint. But
Yeah, you're not
hey,
wrong. I think that you've got a valid point. But if you're wanting, like, looking at it from the way to try to help grow the game, it doesn't at this point. 40 still seems a little bit too low. I think it needs to go up just a smidge more. I'm not saying that we need to increase it like anytime soon, but I think, like you said, it needs to be kind of get a couple years in, see what, how things are looking with that, and then go ahead and add some more.
and they'll be adding a couple of teams in the next couple of years.
Hmm.
So I mean,
Yeah,
40 games plus 14 teams, that's a lot of I mean, that's another 80 games. Another 80 games to the schedule because those other two
yeah,
teams got to have
that's
40
right.
games
Yeah,
apiece.
I
Um,
was wait. I was like, wait, the math 80 more games for every team, and I was like, no, wait,
uh,
that can't be right. I
nah,
had
just
to know
those
I was
two.
misunderstanding something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but best of luck to them. And that is with it or quit it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the
you.
episode. And y'all heard the Fanatics and T Public shouts. We're gonna start doing that in the midst of everything with DraftKings now instead of at the tail end. So just make sure y'all are following us on socials up there: TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at the _lowdown. That's where everything goes down, of course, and hopefully got some video content coming out for you soon, especially as the year wraps up here of 2022, and we'll be getting some more of that content out. for you. So make sure you get out there, take advantage of the sales, and we will catch you all next time, ladies and gentlemen.